welcome to another episode.
Welcome to another episode. Taylor Monnig, Clean Spark, head of mining. What's up, man?
Yeah, no, excited for the podcast. Thanks for having me. I actually listened to a couple of your guys' episodes on the plane today, so I could get a feel for who you guys are. Definitely an entertaining group of people.
Oh, that's good.
Sorry you had to listen to our voice for so many hours.
Right, now you got to talk to us. Yeah. So which episodes did you listen to?
The last one I was just listening to was the one that was focused on Giga. Yeah, talk a little bit about them. I really agree with a lot of the things that are being said. Such like an amazing group of younger guys that are really pushing in the industry. So that was really good to listen to. I think I got through about halfway through before we jumped on here.
Yeah, no.
That was the last one.
It's crazy what a couple 15-year-olds can do.
Right, I was just going to say, for two 15-year-olds, they are impressive little dudes. So
I have to ask, like, where'd that joke come from?
Because they're like 12. So
it comes from the fact that Justin's old.
I'm
Justin's
old,
42.
and so I have to make fun of people for being young because I'm old. So that
makes sense.
Yeah,
he's got to feel better about himself.
Yeah, I got to build myself up somehow, but they really are very impressive for what they've done and what they've continuing to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. The people that they're able to recruit, bringing on Mario, bringing on Matt Lusto.
Yeah, they've just
continuing to kind of grow that.
Yeah, I've really to watch them over the last 3 years. Especially going through a bear market, and there are some advantages to being younger and going through that now, rather than being, my age and going through it. And you have a lot more time left, but also there's just the stuff you learn early on and kind of carry with you once you make it through that and to carry on going forward. They're going to be primed for a lot of success. So. But I know we're not here to talk about Giga the whole time.
Let's talk about Clean Spark. Where you guys, give us the rundown of where you guys have sites at currently.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've got 8 owned and operated sites, 5 in Georgia. We've got 3 in Mississippi. We have one larger kind of like hosted facility up in New York with our partners up in CoinMint. And that's generally the makeup. Right now we've got over 130,000 ASICs online, upwards of, 16 exahash deployed right now and currently energized. So that's generally like a state of where Clean Spark's at the moment.
You said New York, huh? That is like scary for a lot of people to be up there mining. Can you tell us about that operation a little bit more? Yeah,
so I've been with Clean Spark for the last a year and a half, and that situation's actually been great for us. We've got really good partners up there in CoinMint. The uptime's generally really high. The profitability's great given that market. Also a lot of really clean power up there with all the hydro and everything. So there's definitely a lot of comments and concerns around the regulatory issues in New York. We've been fortunate that none of that's really plagued our operations so far.
Do you feel like the regulatory environment up there is kind of shifting on Bitcoin mining due to what it can do for the renewable side? Is basically kind of, and I know it might be different there with some of the hydro stuff, but down here we use Bitcoin mining, the story around it a lot anyway, is like we can go and make renewable projects that might not have an offtake. We can make them profitable. We can be a buyer for them. Is that story kind of spreading amongst the politicians in New York, state level politicians anyway? Or I guess, has there been any pushback or blowback that you guys were concerned about or dealt with?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of public news, right? Obviously, there's some push and there's some pull. What I will say, what I think is going on, in the industry and just in society as a whole, right, is I really do think the Bitcoin education is starting to stick, right? I don't know if it's sticking with every single politician or with every single person that reads about Bitcoin and how energy works with Bitcoin, but I can see that message is like really positively trending in the right direction, right? So I think it's a mix of what's going on in New York, and that's why we're so bullish on Georgia, right? Like you don't hear anything negative about Bitcoin coming out of Georgia. All of the communities in which we've been operating in Georgia have been so overwhelmingly supportive, right? Same thing going for walking into Mississippi. As you guys probably heard, we bought some facilities there last month and those are already energized and turned on. We've been getting the same kind of response there, right? So I think Texas has really led the way with all of the demand response and curtailment and just general energy ideas, let's call them, group for the industry. But I think it's starting to catch on in New York and Georgia and all these other places where they can look at us as like a tool or utility to make their grid better, or to your point, right, build these renewable ones that don't have interconnects, right? You guys are really experts in the Texas energy grid. You guys know how long the interconnect line is, right?
Right.
And that energy's got to go somewhere. But it's also not only in the United States. I think we're starting to see it, well outside the United States and South America, and a lot of other countries where they're starting to see all these energy benefits of Bitcoin. The Giga guys were talking about being down in South America, right? Perfect example. Bitfarms is down there. A couple other players, but I think that whole energy message is really starting to stick due to all the education that people and all the kind of talks that are going on about it, which has been really cool to see.
You said your latest site is in Mississippi?
So the latest one that we built is our Sandersville facility. It got turned on in, I believe, early April, early February. I'm sorry, so early February. And then about 2 or 3 weeks after that, we purchased 3 new facilities in Mississippi that also got turned on. Both those projects kind of coincided at the same time. So it just depends on kind of what you're looking at.
The Sandersville one, that's in Georgia, right?
Yeah. So Sandersville, Georgia, amazing, smaller kind of rural town out there. We originally purchased the site from Miggy.
I was out there. I was at that site when they were building that. I was shocked how fast they put that up too. I know that they've struggled some on their market cap, but they really do a good job of, I guess, getting operational. They got that thing up and operating so quick. I'm pretty tight with the Miggy dudes. I've done a few deals with them, but yeah, I was out there before it was still all trees, and by the time I came out there the second time, it was like cleared, and they got like 60 megawatts up. It was pretty impressive. But go ahead, my bad.
No, you're all good, man. We ended up purchasing that site from Miggy. It was all container-based layout. They had it basically like 2 sections, an upper and a bottom section. We came in and took that facility over, and all those trees that you would have saw to the left, we've cleared all of those out. And that's where we built like our newest air-cooled building. So we've been really working on the technology. And I'm sure you guys have heard like Matt and Zach talking about our efficiency and things like that. We've been really working on our building design, right, and purchasing, the latest and greatest machines from Bitmain, and that's all kind of been culminated into the newest building design at Sandersville. So it's a completely passive cooled facility. It's 150 megawatts, no intake or exhaust fans. The only energy that's going for anything other than mining is the lights, and it makes it a super efficient machine. We've loaded it with brand new, S19 XPs. In the back section of the third 50 megawatt chunk that's coming on here shortly. Once we get the last transformer in, we'll be all loaded with S21s. But it's a pretty cool facility the way that we've designed it, not to have any intake or exhaust, like no parasitic load at all. And it'll run right through like 100-degree day and not have any uptime.
So if you have no intake and exhaust, how are you addressing that?
Yeah, so we're actually utilizing the miner fans, and then we just have a clever way of basically making sure that the coolest ambient air that we can possibly be getting in is coming in one side. We've done a couple clever tricks on sealing and pressurizing the other side, and the way that we make the air kind of leave the site so it doesn't get sucked back into the intake. So it's really nothing like groundbreaking or crazy. It's just a bunch of like simple, clever little engineering things that we put all together to make it work in like a really unique package. We'd love for you guys to come out and tour the facility. We're really proud of, what it turned out to be.
Yeah, we should.
You guys should come out and check it out, and we'll give you a tour, and you can see kind of how Miggy did it and versus how CleanSpark does, what we're going to be doing moving forward.
That would actually be super cool. We should do that. You let us know when. We're always down to go do something like that. Do a field shoot.
Sure.
So I got one more question on the Georgia stuff, just because, and this, this is different things you hear, I don't know, in the small grapevine that there is in the Bitcoin world, but the PPA situation in Georgia, because a lot of people did get burned in Georgia when natural gas prices spiked so much a couple of years ago. You guys had some type of crazy PPA, didn't you, that you basically were able to transfer over and buy or hedge your price in or lock your price in? Is that accurate, or am I completely way off?
No, what I think you're referring to is our College Park facility. Our College Park facility did have a unique PPA. That PPA has since ran out. It's all like public information. You can pull all that up and like all the filings and everything. But we did have a unique power situation there. But as Zach and Matt have talked a lot about, we actually are in the kind of the open market, right, for energy prices within MEAG and our other providers there in Georgia. So we don't have a crazy PPA. What we found is Georgia just historically has low energy prices. They're an energy abundant state that is shipping energy out in most cases. You have the new Vogtle power plants that have came online that have only added to that, right? And you are right, though, like companies like Core Scientific and things, I believe is probably who you're pointing out to, it got burned pretty bad. over in Dalton with the price changes. But I think a lot of that was actually due to their hosting situation combined with the energy prices, right? Like I said, I've been at CleanSpark for a year and a half and been incredibly impressed by the power prices in Georgia. As you guys see from the kind of the filings and the competition from the public space, we're normally very high on the Bitcoin per exahash or utilized, exahash for what we have deployed. And that shows that we're not having to curtail for any sort of, economic reasons or anything like that, right? So it's been a really smooth operation, but it is much different than in, let's call it, Texas, where, we've had some historically really crazy power deals and things like that. Like our power providers, like I don't want to say we have, like our power providers have been great, right? Like the whole deal is back and forth. But I think what you were referring to is specifically that College Park facility that did have a very specific PPA for a certain period of time.
Yeah. Okay. Are you guys mostly self-mining or are you doing kind of combination of hosting? Mostly self-mining?
No. So we are a full self-mining play. We do not host anybody else's machines. We do have some machines hosted, like I said, up in New York, but no, we don't do any sort of hosting internally for other companies or anything like that. And that's one of the reasons why I actually joined CleanSpark, is that CleanSpark is fully focused on being an exceptional world-class Bitcoin miner, right? We're not veering off into HPC. We're not doing hosting. We're not doing all these other things. We believe that we are really good at Bitcoin mining, and we're really going to focus on being the best Bitcoin miner that we possibly can.
So we skipped over what we typically ask everybody. Is like, how'd you get into Bitcoin? What's your story, and how'd you get there? So let's go back to that.
You've been at CleanSpark for a year and a half. Yeah, so let's go back to the origin story, and then did you work in Bitcoin prior to CleanSpark as well?
So I got exposed to Bitcoin in college. I was actually taking like an environmental studies class. The professor honestly just really didn't like the Koch brothers and wanted to teach a whole entire class on why they were bad for the environment. And one day he didn't have material, right? And we went into alternative currencies with something that he wanted to talk about. And that was what exposed me to Bitcoin, which was, looking back, pretty hilarious.
Was he a proponent or opponent? I think I know, but
was he?
Yeah.
No, yeah, he was a huge proponent. He thought it was really interesting, right? And that's why he taught this class on it. Some of the Bcash, he went through kind of the origin story of how Bitcoin came to be. Some of the early people, Adam, and kind of the precursor technologies, right? And so that was how I was originally exposed to Bitcoin and got interested in it. At the same time, one of my best friends is a huge data center operator. He actually became the CTO of my company, TMG Core. He was living with me at the time. I was going to school, found out about Bitcoin. He's been constantly teaching me about data centers. He got me a job in a data center when I was 17 years old and learning about how to operate computers at a larger scale, right? And that's when I found a miner. And I grew up racing. I love race cars and all that kind of stuff. And I looked at miners kind of like the race cars of computers. You plug these things in, they run at 100% all the time. And it just happened to be that they printed money, right? So coming out of college,
that's a good combination.
The most exciting thing in the world, right? I'm going to go buy these money printers. I'm going to set them up in the same style as a data center because that just makes a whole lot of sense. We already know how to run computers at scale. Let's just replicate that. And we'll go print a bunch of money, right?
What year was this?
This was December of 16, I think, or December of 15, going into that next year. And so I'm getting obsessed with Bitcoin at this time. I'm bugging Jake absolutely crazy. Hey, we should go do this. We should go do this. And, the overwhelming thing is, ASICs cost a ton of money and we're fresh out of school. I don't have a ton of money. Right. So ironically enough, I'm making YouTube videos talking about Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff. And I had a friend from high school come over. He just asked, hey, will you give me the short class? And 3:30 in the morning comes around, he's leaving the house and he looks at me, he's like, so what are you really doing? I know you, because I had a job as a recruiter, but he's like, that can't be what's going on. And so I showed him this business plan of this idea we came up with. We wanted to basically crowdsource money, find places where people had spare electricity, such as a college dorm, or you want to plug it into your dryer outlet, right? Crowdfund the miners, find 3 places to put them, divvy up the earnings of the Bitcoin, right? Pay everybody back and make a cut on doing that. That was our first business proposal. The back half of that business plan was build a super mine once we got to scale, right? Just consolidate all of the machines, bring them all into one central location, build it out like a data center, switch out the servers for miners and go from there. And ironically enough, he goes, I'll get you money for that. Haven't seen this kid in 4 years, right? Barely even friends. He literally just looks at me and goes, no problem, I'll get you money for that. Go back to my job and I'm sitting there at work and it's 105 degrees in the Texas or in the Arizona summer, and I get a call from a random Texas number. His name's William Hidala. Tells me to get on a plane. 3 days later, you're coming to pitch this business plan, and they'll fund the whole entire deal. The deal was a lot of money. Yeah. Like it was an exorbitant amount of money to get a lot of machines. Sure enough, I flew down there 4 days later, walked into a room of people I'd never met before with, our soon-to-be CTO, Jake, convinced him to leave his incredibly cushy job running these data centers that making tons of money. And we walked out. This guy grabbed Jake by the arm, looks at him and goes, "You got a dragon by the tail, kid." And I'll never forget this moment the rest of my life, right? And we walk out of that room. A couple of days later, they call us. They're like, we'll give you the money. We want to do the deal, but we're going to put, quote unquote, an adult in the room, which is why I had to kind of ask about the Giga joke, because I get the kid thing. They're going to put an adult in the room, but we want to do the deal. I've got a 3-month-old kid at home, and I have to leave my cushy job. Jake's leaving his cushy job, and I've got to go tell my girlfriend with the 3-month-old kid, hey, so we're going to move to Dallas with these random people we don't know, and we're just going to get this going. There's no documents or anything like that. Sure enough, we just go for it, right? Moved to Dallas. Original mine was actually set up in Houston. And so TMG Core started from a company called Bid Everest, which rolled into TMG Core. TMG Core went from a large-scale miner to very focused on immersion cooling. We basically had someone walk into our mine from one of the major data center players and said, if you can do this style of density for ASICs, we need this in the data center. So we pivoted our business. Bitcoin was down bad, to say the least, right? While I was a Bitcoiner, not everybody in the company was a Bitcoiner, to be clear. The board was like, hey, we really want you to focus on this data center stuff. So I had to step away from Bitcoin, as hard as that was, for about 2 or 3 years, and really focused on single phase and 2-phase immersion cooling for data centers. And in that span, I got the itch and just said, we have to go back to Bitcoin. Basically petitioned our executive team, I'm either out or we're making a Bitcoin tank. And that's when Crypto Core kind of happened. And we got back into the Bitcoin space, got to work with all the public companies on setting up their immersion mines and just consulting, giving ideas. They came, and saw the tanks or whatever. And that's when I met Zach and Scott from CleanSpark. And that's kind of how we get here. Is I just really wanted to go back to mining full time. Like I got put into a lot of like engineering and manufacturing type leadership roles at TMG Core, which I did enjoy. But at the end of the day, I'm just a Bitcoiner, and I really love Bitcoin mining. Computers are fun, but Bitcoin miners are really my passion. And then I met these guys, and I was ready to leave TMG. So I kind of shopped around, looked at people, but it was pretty clear from CleanSpark. Like I really thought these guys had what it take to make it. And you meet Matt, you meet Zach, and you meet Gary, like it just comes together. So it was like a no-brainer. So I called them up, and they had been asked me to come over, and I was like, let's do this thing, and figured it out. So yeah, I've been a Bitcoiner through and through, but just really focused on like cooling computers, I guess.
Is TMG Core still going separately? Are they still kind of blowing and
going? So there's actually a pretty big announcement. In January, TMG was acquired by Modine, who's like a competitor to Train. So they build data center cooling type things like that. So a lot of the executive team has rolled out of TMG Core and is on to other endeavors. And then a lot of the staff is still retained with Modine, and they're building out that technology, however they see fit.
Isn't it freaking cool? And you young guys will probably appreciate this more later on, but like the fact that you're getting to do a job that you like this much and care about this much, I can tell you love it. It's remarkable, man. I get super happy because, I look at even the stuff I'm getting to do, and I'm like, man, I'm the luckiest freaking dude in the world. I love Bitcoin. I love energy stuff, and now I get to not cut my hair and freaking just hang out and wear sweats and t-shirts everywhere. I'm at Atacon Energy Solutions now, and one of the guys over there, really successful construction history, is an older guy. More experienced guy. Sorry, Howard, not older guy. Very experienced guy. And he can see how much fun it is to watch people like us get to be in the space. And the one thing he always says, he's like, I got to get a hat because every meeting I'm in, everybody has a hat on. And I'm like, you know what? I start paying attention. I'm like, we all have hats on. Jake doesn't have one. But
it's a weird day that I don't have a hat.
I know, it is. And
a good hair day. So.
But we are getting to do stuff that we care about, and in an industry that even the product we care so much about, and that I don't know, man. I feel really blessed at where I'm at in my life, and
I'm right there with you. No, I mean, it's amazing to get to like work on Bitcoin, and it's amazing to get to work on Bitcoin at this scale, right?
Right.
Like over the year and a half, we've gone from 2 exahash to over 16 exahash. Like we deployed over 100,000 machines. Like we're designing our own data centers, we're building our own data centers, we're operating them, right? Like no, I mean it's like a dream come true. I tell people this all the time, and like my fiance is like so annoyed by it, right? Because like I'm constantly on Foundry and Foreman and like trying to help our team out, right? And it's not because like I feel like I need to. I just feel like you're just supposed to be doing it. You know what I mean? Like I was not interested in computers at all until I found Bitcoin mining. Like everybody finds that like really funny.
Oh yeah,
like,
dude, me neither.
I'm the technology guy, right? But like I never was interested in computers. I used them to edit my skate videos when I was a kid. Like that was about the extent, right? I used them to play video games, right? But the whole data center operations, like any of that, if you would ask my even freshman or sophomore year of college, or even going into junior year, if you would have told my friends like, hey, Taylor's going to be the computer guy, it wouldn't even have been a thing.
Yeah.
The only thing Taylor likes is race cars, right? And I was going to school for communications because I frankly didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was really nice that I rolled into that class and that day got exposed to it. But yeah, no, I have like literally the coolest job in the world, and I have like absolutely no problem saying it.
No, I agree, man. So what about your guys' plans going forward? Are you guys looking to expand more, or are you trying to stay kind of regionally focused, or what do you look for, I guess, when you guys are determining where you want to go next?
So we have like pretty, we have public guidance for like what our exahash is and like all that. So I'm not going to bore you with that. You can go ahead and read that. We're going to grow a lot. I guess that's a simple way to put it. But we only grow where it makes sense, right? If you look at the acquisitions that CleanSpark's made just from their start of their Bitcoin mining inception, right? They've all been very strategic. They've all been really well thought out, and they've been going into places where frankly Bitcoin miners are wanted, right? So like in Washington, Georgia, we came in, cleaned up a little bit of a mess left behind by the previous company, right? Did right by the city, and then they've let us expand, right? We've built another 50 megawatts there just this past year. It's all up and running. Same thing in Sandersville, right? Like we go in, we support the local community, and we do all the right things. We make sure the mines are located in places that aren't going to bother, the citizens, or not next to homes, right? Like you don't hear about CleanSpark having any of those issues, right? So that's kind of what we look for when we expand. We want to make sure that the power mix is, within our range, right? CleanSpark has obviously historically been about clean energy. We want to continue to do that. We want to go into communities where the energy is in excess and we're not doing any sort of detriment by being there, right? And we want to go into communities that are in places where we can deploy, not have problems with sound and mitigation, all that kind of stuff. And we do a really good job of both employing the local people for our operations, but also if you go talk to like our SVP of growth, Scott Garrison, every single vendor that was used on that project was from Sandersville. All that money went back into the local community, not just from tax dollars from energy, not from just like, the local mining tech roles, right? But the people that built the buildings, the people that leveled the land, the people that did the electricity, right? They're all in that community. So that's what we look for. We look for communities that we can go in and really build something of value, be there for a long time. Like our facilities are built to a very high quality. We're not just dropping pods in the middle of West Texas, right? We're building highly engineered, world-class data centers that are going to be standing there in 10 to 20 years and be filled with what I hope to be the S37 miner, because we're still doing this thing. You know what I mean? So that's really what we look for when we expand, is just a good community fit, good energy fit, and ultimately somewhere we can create some serious value for not just ourselves.
Well, it sounds like we need to get you guys in Texas somewhere.
Yeah.
You guys are like the only group that I feel like I haven't done something with to some level, like either bringing them a deal or working on a deal with them. So yeah,
is Texas on the roadmap?
Yeah, is Texas in the horizon?
I won't say Texas not on the roadmap, right? Like if someone brought us something where it made a lot of sense, the energy prices are good, right? Everything lines up, then we don't say no. But Zach always talks about having a solid strategy and strategy over ideology, right? Like we're not going to go to Texas just because everybody else went to Texas, right? Like our company caught a lot of flack for selling Bitcoin during the last bull run. That turned out to be a pretty good idea, right? Yeah. Our company got a lot of flack for not buying miners at $110 a terahash. Well, we got them at 20. Turned out to be a pretty good idea, right? So like CleanSpark historically has been a little bit different than the other operators. And that's honestly why I came here, right? Like they were looking at it from a little bit different lens. Texas has been incredibly valuable for a ton of operators, right? So hopefully we can find a facility that makes sense for us to go there, and that'll be happening one day. I spent a lot of time in Dallas. I love Texas. So I'm definitely not opposed to it. But when you look at operating computers, right, Texas isn't the best environment sometimes, right? It's extremely cold, it's extremely hot, it's extremely dusty, right? So there are reasons why miners don't want to go there. Georgia, you know, the temperatures are considerably lower in the summer, right? We get a little bit of humidity, which helps us with a little bit of cooling, you know, and things like that. The winters aren't as harsh, right? So, you know, there's pros and cons to Texas. So hopefully we'll get out there one day in a situation that makes sense for us.
But that's why they got you, like the operations guru, and coming out here and fix all these problems in Texas, man. I think you guys need.
Oh, we can definitely build a facility that'll withstand Texas. Yeah. You know, we had a really good hosting operation that we actually had with my old company at TMG. You know, we had a couple megawatts hosted there, and it's actually how the relationship started between, you know, me and Clean Spark. So no, we definitely got a design that'll work. We just need a place to put it, and you know, about power agreement and you know, all the nuances of setting up a mine, right? We need all the stars to align, and that's happened for us a bunch in Georgia. It just happened again for us in Mississippi, and hopefully it'll happen one day in Texas.
I just had the greatest idea. I have a buddy of mine who is building a 4-mile racetrack in San Marcos, right?
Okay.
What if we could somehow merge the racetrack with a mining operation? What if we could?
I'd probably never leave.
I'd probably have to just bring your two loves together. I have no clue what his power situation looks like, but as soon as we get off here, I'm going to call him and see. That could be cool.
That'd be like a dream. Yeah. No, I always tell people, you know, love, you know, two things. It's race cars and Bitcoin. So yeah, I'd probably have to move my whole family down there. So.
So tell us about the racing. We talked about it a little bit before we were recording, but so yeah, what's your story with the racing? And like, I don't know anything about racing. I know Jake does.
I can talk racing all day.
Yeah. So what do you do? Where do you race? Are you good?
Yeah.
You win?
Yeah. So it's been a family affair. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my dad was a driver. He also owned his own racing team. Did some like Porsche racing and some Formula Atlantic racing.
No kidding? Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If you look up Justin Entertainment, like Formula Atlantic, probably some old photos will come up of my dad with his long hair and doing his thing. But yeah, my dad shoved me in a go-kart when I was like a little kid, like, you know, 5 or 6 or whatever. And we started racing. And, you know, unfortunately lost my dad when I was young, but had a pretty cool mentor step in, a pretty famous IndyCar driver. I won't mention here just for his, you know, kind of privacy or whatever, but he took me under his wing and we went racing together for, you know, quite a few years and learned a lot through that. Took a little break just going into college and things like that. But yeah, currently now I'm really into drifting. So I was competing in a series called Texas Street Legal down in Texas. And now that I've moved up here to, you know, Vegas, we were talking about a little bit before the show, but got to build a little bit more fancy car to compete in some, you know, bigger series. So yeah, I learned a lot about like engineering and cooling and things like that from the cars and working on the cars. I've taken that to Bitcoin mining, and, you know, drifting and racing in general is just a really good way to blow off some steam and, you know, do something outside of work to, you know, kind of get the blood flowing. So yeah, super, super fun. Really enjoy doing it. And the drifting is like a unique thing because, you know, racing, you're constantly trying to do the fastest time, and it's, you know, so serious. Drifting, it's more like going to the skate park. You get to do some tricks with your car and hang out with your friends, you know, low stress. So yeah, it's really cool, man.
That sounds awesome. And
we should do a joint, like we should do a site visit /
track visit. Yeah.
Track visit too.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys, open invite if you guys ever want to come drifting. Always bring another helmet. It's got a passenger seat in the car. We do ride-alongs and stuff like that.
Let's
so
do that, man.
Open invite.
So freaking cool. I don't want to drive though. I'll ride.
We need our own Netflix show.
Yeah, we do. That sounds perfect. Let's do that. Oh, that sounds incredible, man. Yeah. So, okay. So we got a couple things on the agenda. We need to go get a deal done with Clean Spark in Texas and find them a spot. We got to go do a show in. Well, I guess do they have that in Georgia? They have a track in Georgia we could go to.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different tracks. I mean, Road Atlanta, one of my favorite racetracks, is down there. Atlanta Motorsports Park. Yeah, there's a couple of different options. It'll be hard to get a car there, but I'm sure we can figure it out.
Jake, you got a car?
I don't know. My STI wouldn't drift very well.
Yeah. So what are you driving? Tell us what you're driving.
I drive a 350Z. Still got the stock engine and everything in it, but it's got a bunch of suspension parts that basically make the wheels go farther in each direction so you can drift. It's got like the hydraulic handbrake and all that kind of stuff to lock the wheels up. I built it just so I could drive it a lot. Like obviously with work, we're super, super busy, so I don't have a lot of time to be fixing things. So figure leave the motor stock and just kind of beat it up and have all the suspension parts to go do the drifting. It's worked out well. I've driven probably 500 laps since I've had to work on it last. So knock on wood, it doesn't blow up soon just because I said that on this podcast. But I built it to be low stress, have a lot of fun at the track, park it back Sunday night, go back to work Monday, and then, pull it out, a couple Fridays after that and head back to the track.
Dude, this is making me, I have too many jobs right now, so I'm not getting to do anything fun. Actually, I went fishing last week a couple of days.
You just
so
caught like 200 fish.
Dude, we caught 300 fish in literally 8.5 hours. I don't know. Do you fish, Taylor?
No, I don't.
Man, I was in Canada. We caught 193 walleye in 3.5 hours the first day I went. And then the second day I went, we caught 195 in 5 hours. It was incredible. And they were all big walleye. So Rainy River, pre-spawn is the best freaking fishing I've ever done. But I also was on meetings while I was fishing. In fact, I had one meeting. I was waiting I had my computer up and I'm like hotspotting in through my phone. And I'm like, I got to keep casting because like literally it's almost every cast. And so I'm waiting for them to get on and I hook like a 26-inch walleye and they get on there and I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, I got to get this fish in. So I get it in and I'm holding it up to the camera showing this fish. I'm like, and this is a big group. Like this is a very, very large mining group. And I'm just like, they're never going to use me again, but it's all right. It's all right.
Hey, it sounds like to me you're dedicated. You're taking some time from your vacation to work and get the job done. I mean, I think that's what's important, right?
Taylor, I like it. Yes, you're right. Thank you. I was actually showing a lot of like dedication and fortitude.
I mean, half the times we go get dinner at 9 o'clock, you're like sitting there on calls.
Yeah, I know, it's true.
So.
Sarah's getting
no, for real.
tired.
And it's important to like take some time for yourself. That's one thing I learned going through the TMG process and like owning my own business and doing all that. Is like you do need to take time to do some things that are just outside of work, right? Like I made some mistakes and overworked during that period. And reflecting on it, I was like, man, I would have been way better at my job and a better dad, better fiance, better everything if I would have just like taken a break to go do something else. So no, I think it's important to like go do some things, have a hobby, be able to take away from work. But to your point, right? If you got a call, something goes down, right? You got to fix it. It kind of is what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So how many kids you got? Just one or?
I've got two. I got a 6-year-old and I got a 1.5-year-old.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got two as well, but they're a little bit older than that. So, but yeah, man. Well, look, I am, despite never really getting to do anything with you guys yet. I say yet because I plan on. I'm sure we'll do some work together in the future. I'm a big fan of what you guys have been doing. So, it's been fun to watch you guys grow this fast, and I'm looking forward to hopefully trying to help you guys get here in Texas.
Yeah, no, appreciate the kind words, man. And we got an amazing team. It's been a really fun journey to be a part of, the past 1.5 years, watching this all come together. Definitely never thought we'd be deploying this many machines this quickly, but I don't think anybody ever does, right?
Yeah.
So, huge blessing. It's been awesome.
That is cool, man.
Taylor, it's been great chatting with you, man. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We'll see ya. You do the closing, Jake. You're always better.
Guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next episode.